Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you for joining me this morning for the podcast. And
Thank
I
you.
know that today is a special day because it's your work anniversary at AGF. So happy work anniversary!
Today is the day.
Great. So yeah, you've been at AGF for a year now, and
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could tell me what do you like about the company and your work at AGF?
Great. Good question. Today is my 1 year anniversary. What I'd say I like about AGF, there's maybe two or three main areas. I say one of them I think is the people I work with. So most of the people I work with at AGF, whether it's in Longueuil or it's on Calgary, Vancouver, or folks in Ontario, I'd say they're all very smart about rebar, but also on top of that, they're all very dedicated or loyal to their job, to the business, to really their teammates. So it's actually very refreshing that they go the extra mile to actually help their teammates, which then makes it easier for me to, whenever they need support for me to always push myself to be a little bit better because I see them working so hard, so diligent, working to always make their job or their teammates' job easier, better, those kind of things. I think the other thing for me might be how much help I actually get from my teammates. So specifically, let's say look at the Longueuil office. So ever since the day I got here, I actually went to the Longueuil office. I think it was my first day, as a matter of fact. Um, Folks like I'm going to leave some names out, but Pierre Colangelo, for instance, he's come down to Ontario a couple of times to visit me. Whenever I pick up the phone and call him, it's great to have the interaction with somebody who's done this for a very long time and is willing to give their information to you, or basically tell you a story, or say this is how something has worked in the past, give us a try. For some other folks, and maybe having longer discussions with strategic ideas, but it's great to be able to bounce ideas off them from their experience and say, can you give me a hand here? And the feedback I get is wonderful. I think the last part is AGF that's interesting is it's a big company, it's growing, but it doesn't feel like a big company. You don't feel like you work at one of these macro companies that is just it's mega. It's where what you do actually makes a big difference. Everything you do on a daily basis, you can actually see results, or your team sees the results, and it's very nice to see that you're not working at some company that what you do may not see the results long term down the line. Here you see it instantaneous, and your teammates see it, and it's great to have that feeling. Even though we're growing, you still have that small company feel.
Great. So if I summarize what you like is like the passion and the dedication that all the people at AGF are
Yeah.
having at their job. Also the collaboration and teamwork at AGF, and finally the fact that we're very big. Like we're almost 2,000 people, but it's like a very family and friendly company.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good to know that. I have another question for you. So you're in charge both of Ontario and Western Canada as senior VP operation. And are there any particularities specific to those regions that you have noticed in terms of project or the way we work or anything?
Yeah, it's interesting because even though it's all the rebar business, what happens kind of, let's say, Western Canada versus Ontario is different. So the companies that we work with, some of the bigger companies that might be the big contractors, you'd see their name from West Coast to East Coast. But I think the business is slightly different. I think a little bit of that is just because business is always regional. People want to do work with people they know and people they trust. So even though it might be the AGF brand, it's who's behind the brand is what's important. And also, I think the economy is completely different, whether you're in Ontario versus Calgary versus Vancouver. The economies are completely different. So we saw Vancouver was a very hot market. COVID has come along. It's put a lid on it. The fact of the matter is that economy is going to bounce back. So the contractors and the owners are behaving slightly different right now because of the situation with COVID. Calgary, on the other hand, Alberta was a very difficult economy. It's been going on for, say, 4 years. Oil and gas has really been depressed there for the last 4 years. And now with COVID, of course, it's really put a stranglehold on the economy. So we have different challenges there. Ontario is more my perception of what's going on in Quebec. The economy is extremely strong. You felt very small differences due to COVID, and everybody's proceeding along. So I think that the people that are AGF are fairly same. They're very resilient. It doesn't matter if you're in an economy that's really strong like Ontario, where you're working very hard to keep growing the business. You work in an area like Calgary, where yes, things are tough right now. We're going to get through it because the folks are resilient. Or in Vancouver, which is our new organization led by Roger Lucier, who's basically putting a team together, getting AGF out in the marketplace. It's all different steps along the way with where AGF is, and kind of, I'd say it's life cycle, different for the economy. But overall, at the end of the day, it is a rebar business. We build things. People want to work with somebody they trust. So in that, it does come down to who is at AGF going to be the face of the company and actually have the opportunity to work with our customers.
Good. Thank you for summarizing the way it looks all across the country. I have a final question for you.
Sure.
Is there a cause that is close to your heart that you like to support?
That's a great question. So I think for me, when I was looking to actually join AGF, one thing that was very interesting to me was AGF Foundation. Again, we're a big company is growing, but yet we do take the time to actually help people in our local areas or towns or cities, wherever it may be. And AGF Foundation does that. And one thing that's been great about AGF Foundation that I've learned from AGF Foundation is about mental health. So of course I knew about it before. I've been educated. I have kids who are in secondary school. They come home and they've educated me on that. But AGF has done a great job of making sure that we're very aware of that, especially with COVID, as we were reaching out to our employees while they're at home, our teammates are at home, some working by themselves. Always talking about mental health is very important, that we're always talking about that. If we see somebody struggling, is it basically a performance issue? Let's not jump to that. Let's talk about, is it a personal issue? Is it a mental health issue? That really, it should be the very first thing we always talk about. So for me, I've learned a lot about mental health, really because the foundation is concentrating on that, and AGF as a whole through communications is actually concentrating on that. I think it's made me much more aware, and I'm much smarter about it. So that's something I've learned a lot about, and I want to continue learning about mental health.
Yeah, yeah, because actually the AGF Group Foundation has an engagement with CAMH, which is
Yep,
a
exactly.
um, for people struggling with toxicomania and mental health
Yep.
issues. So that's why, indeed, the foundation is talking about mental health. It's through this engagement with CAMH. Well,
Yep.
thanks a lot, Joe, for taking the time with me this morning, and I wish you many more years with us. And again, happy anniversary.
Great. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
All right. You too.